The second admission hit harder than the first. Laurel described how they'd monetized my love, turning my care packages and birthday checks into expected income rather than expressions of affection. My financial support had become so routine, they'd stopped seeing it as generosity and started treating it like inheritance payments they'd already earned. The beach house down payment, the kitchen renovation, the luxury cars, all funded by someone they'd systematically excluded from the life my money had helped create. The irony wasn't lost on either of us that my money had been driving us apart while I believed it was keeping us connected. Years of increasing financial support had created resentment instead of gratitude, obligation instead of affection, a dynamic where my worth became measured in dollars rather than decades of motherhood. My care packages and birthday checks had transformed from expressions of love into reminders of their financial inadequacy and my emotional neediness. Kent's unemployment lasted 6 weeks before he found steady work at a salary that required significant lifestyle adjustments, but eliminated their dependence on my credit rating. Laurel described their downsized life with surprising satisfaction. How cooking dinner together had replaced expensive restaurant meals. How family game nights had filled the void left by country club social events they could no longer afford. The financial constraints had forced them to rediscover each other without the distraction of borrowed luxury. Their children had initially struggled with the sudden changes, but adapted faster than their parents expected, finding entertainment in board games and backyard activities instead of expensive outings funded by grandma's involuntary sponsorship. Laurel laughed through her tears, describing her daughter's pride in earning money for school supplies through neighborhood pet-sitting jobs, developing work ethic that years of financial abundance had never taught her. The conversation shifted when Laurel asked what would be required for rebuilding our relationship on terms that didn't involve financial manipulation or emotional obligation. I surprised myself by having clear answers, boundaries I'd apparently been formulating during weeks of silence while they panicked about credit card payments. Regular communication would be genuine rather than dutiful. Visits would be planned together rather than surprise attacks designed to generate gratitude. And respect would be demonstrated through actions rather than purchased through financial support. My newfound confidence in articulating needs instead of just providing for everyone else's needs felt like discovering muscles I'd forgotten I possessed. Decades of putting their comfort before my own dignity had created relationship patterns that benefited them while diminishing me, turning motherhood into a performance art piece where applause required increasingly expensive tickets. The financial crisis had forced honesty that years of enabling had prevented. Laurel's willingness to accept responsibility for their treatment of me marked a turning point in our conversation, moving beyond explanations into territory where actual change might be possible. She acknowledged how they'd taken my financial support for granted while treating my emotional needs like burdens, how they'd built their lifestyle on my credit while excluding me from the life it funded. The admission required courage that impressed me almost as much as it relieved me. The possibility of forgiveness emerged gradually as we talked through decades of accumulated resentment and misunderstanding. My anger remained justified, but no longer felt consuming, replaced by cautious hope that we might build something better on the ruins of our previous dysfunction. The pain they'd caused wouldn't disappear through conversation, but acknowledging it honestly created foundation for something more authentic than what we'd lost. Trust would need to be rebuilt slowly through consistent actions rather than dramatic gestures or financial transactions. Laurel proposed new boundaries for our relationship. No financial topics during conversations, complete honesty about feelings and expectations, weekly coffee visits because she wanted my company rather than because obligation demanded it. The terms felt reasonable, achievable, built on mutual respect rather than monetary transactions. My transformation from doormat to someone with standards hadn't been planned, but felt permanent in ways that surprised me. Setting boundaries didn't make me selfish. Demanding respect didn't make me difficult. and refusing to enable bad behavior didn't make me unloving. The financial crisis had taught all of us that relationships built on money rather than mutual appreciation were essentially business arrangements with holiday cards. The conversation ended with tentative plans for future contact based on honest communication rather than financial obligation. Laurel would call weekly because she wanted to hear my voice, not because guilt demanded it. I would visit when invited rather than surprising them with expectations they couldn't meet gracefully. The relationship would be rebuilt deliberately, honestly, with both sides contributing emotional investment rather than just one side providing financial support. Walking back to my car, I felt lighter than I had in years despite the serious conversation and emotional weight of rebuilding damaged relationships. The woman who'd driven through that storm to deliver a birthday cake had been replaced by someone who understood that love shouldn't require financial backing to remain valid. For the first time in decades, I was curious about what I might discover when I stopped serving everyone else's needs and started exploring my own. The sweet taste of self-respect.